I tell people about the wine business. I always point to that lake. This is what does, this is the winemaker ultimately. It's not the guy that's back there. It's this brain in our heads is what's determined that makes this wine, nothing else. Dad started coming up here in the 70s for work. He used to work for American Can, and he used to come up here on business to Geneva and Fairport, New York. And right around that time, they changed the laws that allowed these wineries to open up. And he was in California after World War II, and went to school out there, fell in love with the wine business out there, and decided that, always had in the back of his mind that he wanted to run a winery. So again, with the laws changing, he bought property in '78, started planting grapes in '79, and then opened the winery in '86. I worked here on and off pretty much from the get-go in the vineyards, from '79 on and off to '87, in and out of school. And then I came back in '89 when he died. I'm the only one who never worked here in my family. I never thought, my father was a very stern man. It was tough working for him, so I never imagined being here and working for him just because it was, when you're a kid, you don't want to do what your parents want you to do. So it's, I was that typical kid.
We met in 1991, and then when I graduated from graduate school, I moved up here. I'm an environmental consultant, so when things slow down a little bit, I've always been able to come in and work here, and so that is nice. But, the flip side of it is that, there's times where I'm really, really busy, but they just need a hand here, and so I'll come in and I will work. When I got here, my mother-in-law worked here full-time, and then Tom worked here full-time, and then I worked here full-time. There were times when that was challenging and times when it was fun. And I miss that in some ways. My mother-in-law really was kind of like a pioneer here, and just by sheer determination, for a number of years went around and marketed the winery and did tastings, and she really kind of built a foundation that, as a family we were able to, and my husband was able to kind of take over and go from there.
My name is Troy Wise. I work in the tasting room and I work in the production area as well. I actually grew up down the street from her, so when I turned 17, I think you can actually start working the vineyards, doing that kind of stuff. When you do a little bit of everything, you're doing the vineyards, you're working the production, you get to see everything from basically start to finish to when people drink it.
So really sweet and really dry?
Being in a smaller place, if something happens and I really need to be there, I can't be sick, I can't be that, there's not somebody else to kind of cover my position if something like that happens.
We expanded our tasting room, we expanded in the back, we've got more tanks, got more barrels, and we've removed some vineyards and planted others, different varieties. It's really the area that's changed more than we have. I guess more than anything. There was 10 wineries when we opened on Seneca Lake, and now there's 60 something or 70. I can't keep track.
So it was conceived in 1986 and actually formed officially as an organization in 1989, so celebrating 30 years. It's one of the most successful wine trails on the East Coast and one of the most heavily populated with 31 member wineries. So a lot of the ones that started, all of the ones that started as a matter of fact, started as family owned and operated, and that has kind of changed over time. We're still seeing lots of family owned and operated wineries today, but a lot of folks that are coming into the wine industry from other areas are coming here because they love it, and they've been here as a visitor and they say, hey, I want a piece of that pie and I want that atmosphere and I want that lifestyle. So we have a really wide range of owners. We have owners that have other full-time jobs and have staff that run their wineries, but we also still have those tried, trusted, family-owned and operated versions as well.
There are a ton of family owned and operated. You know, for the most part, most of them were started somewhere along that line. So family started it, and yes, along the way, maybe cousin or they picked up additional investors, stuff like that. But a lot of the area ones, they were all started kind of that same kind of a way. It just depends on where they want to go, where they want to take it, and that kind of stuff. If they want to stay that kind of feeling, or they want to go more commercial.
German grapes?
Yep, I've got it. Be spicier.
Yep. We've come a long way, not just us, the whole industry's come a long way. We're making really, really top quality wines. And that helps, you know. But again, it's still difficult.
There's definitely been changes. Because there used to be so many fewer wineries, we just had more people who were coming to the area stopping. There were just fewer places to stop. So there were, you know, weekends where we were running 2 cash registers and things were just extremely busy. The other thing is that I think that people came and they were only coming to maybe 5 or 6 wineries for the whole weekend, so they were buying cases of wine from us.
It's very, very competitive with a lot of places. So when you come here, a lot of the times you'll try whatever you're tasting. You might try 5, you might try 10. For the most part, generally, most people are gonna like most of the stuff that gets put in front of them around here. You know, you go to some places, you know, you like 2, you like 3 out of most of the stuff that you tried, but you might not like everything. The price point on it's really nice. And you always hear when people come in, they have a good time. You know, it's not so commercialized where they walk in and they feel like, you know, you're going into a grocery store, you're going into like a fast food kind of a place where it's kind of sterile, you're doing that. It's a lot of interaction. You know, the people that are generally working in the tasting room have worked here for a long time. They kind of know what people want, how to treat them. It's just a lot of that kind of stuff together gives you that kind of atmosphere.
Rough day. Give me a Chardonnay. I've had, you know, 50, 60,000 conversations or hundreds of thousands. I don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I always talk to people generally.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Hit me.
Your friends do that.
Oh, I'll gladly do it for you.
I'm sure that they give you service.
That's the thing about you. Generally, people are happy to be here, you know, because they're on vacation. You know, they're interested in what you do. You know, it's a very romanticized business. I mean, I always say that, you know, I could be in a room full of, you know, Congressional Medal of Honor winners, you know, and they'll like push them all out of the way to talk to the wine guy.
The winery business itself is, in a lot of ways, it's very romantic, and I love interacting with the people. Like, my favorite thing definitely is like being in the tasting room and interacting with people.
So it's a business that, you know, it's existential. It's what does it mean to be a human being, you know, and how do we perceive? Why do we perceive? You know, and that's to me what's fascinating about this business. It's not just, you know, there's a lot of the nuts and bolts that I just, they don't interest me that much of it, you know, but that stuff interests me a lot.
BSR day?
Yeah, I came
Seriously?
in, I was secretly hammered. I was like, hi, Jimmy.
You're within, 40 miles from tip to tip of just Seneca Lake, and there's, 60 stops I can probably think of that you can go to in a weekend. If you're only coming up here once a year, maybe twice a year, how many wineries are you going to? And that's just on Seneca. Yeah, I mean, there's always that worry about how many can you possibly fit into this area before ones just start closing. But, you know, being here for so long, you worry about more of the ones that open up in the past 5 or 10 years that aren't the big corporations that are ex-doctors, ex-whatever, that are really, you know, farming with money, not just farming to make money.
A lot of it's just, you know, endurance. I mean, you know, there's a lot of wineries that have come and gone.